Hi, I'm Scott Gerlica. I go to Medina High School as a senior, and this is my first year in the radiology department at Hillcrest Hospital. And my project this year was the evaluation of current radiology studies at Hillcrest Hospital based on the ACR appropriateness criteria. The American College of Radiology was founded in 1923. Since then, it's become the leading advisory board of radiology studies in the United States. It now has over 34,000 members that all share the common goal of making diagnostic imaging as safe, effective, and accessible as possible. To reach this goal, radiologists and other physicians gathered in 1994 and deliberated to create the ACR appropriateness criteria. Their goal was to make a universal standard for imaging technologies so inappropriate imaging studies wouldn't have to be done anymore. And this was created to assist referencing physicians in making the most appropriate imaging decisions based on a patient's symptoms or conditions. Appropriateness was based on a number of things, like flexibility, validity, and patient safety and exposure. The study is rated on a scale of 1 to 9, 1, 2, and 3 all being inappropriate. 4, 5, and 6 were intermediate appropriateness, which means that it's still a little appropriate, but there's always something more appropriate. And then 7, 8, or 9 are all appropriate. My sample included 170 patients who've undergone a radiology study at Hillcrest Hospital during the months of January and February 2011. All patients have either had a CT scan, an MRI, a CR or DR, or an ultrasound study. Patients who have undergone interventional radiology or intra-op or outpatient fluoroscopy have been excluded from my project. I first reviewed the epic charts of each patient that I had and then determined the study the ordering physician ordered and the reason for the study. I also recorded the ordering physician. I then reviewed the organized ACR appropriateness criteria that was provided by the ACR on its website and compared it against the studies found in EPIC. Studies that received a score of 7, 8, or 9 were all considered appropriate. Anything less, so 6 or less, were all considered inappropriate unless otherwise specified by the ACR. And this is just an example of the graph that I used that was provided by the ACR. Among the 170 studies that I looked at, 136 were appropriate, 29 may or may not have been appropriate, so 6 to 4, and 5 were completely inappropriate, so 3 to 1. This means that the physicians who ordered a radiology study at Hillcrest Hospital during January and February of 2011 ordered an appropriate study roughly 80% of the time. All 3 levels of appropriateness were observed. All appropriate studies were either 7, 8, or 9, like I said, and that consisted of 80% of the studies. Intermediate appropriateness, which again means that there's always something more appropriate, consisted of 17% of the studies, and inappropriate studies were 2.9%. 82% of the studies deemed inappropriate, so 6s or lower, at least had intermediate appropriateness, which means that even though it wasn't completely inappropriate, there was still something else more appropriate that could have been done. So the appropriateness percentage varied for each modality of study, so X-rays, CT scans, ultrasounds, and MRIs, mammograms, and nuclear medicine. X-rays and ultrasound percentages were similar with their overall appropriateness percentage and close to the overall appropriateness percentage of all studies, which was 80%. MRIs, mammograms, and nuclear medicine procedures were all 100% appropriate. CT scans is what brought the overall appropriateness down. CT scans are way overused by ordering physicians, which was why it only had 62% appropriateness. So after my study, I recommend that ordering physicians should become more aware and acquainted with the ACR. It is a resource intended for them to look at, and it's widely available and even has an iPhone app made by the ACR. This will reduce the patient radiation exposure and may improve morbidity and mortality rates, along with resulting in a possible monetary savings for the hospital and patient, because insurance companies also look at the ACR appropriateness criteria. So I'd like to say thank you to my mentor, Dr. Golub, for creating my project and helping me whenever I needed it. I'd also like to thank Jackie Dixon for making this experience just totally great. I'd like to thank the entire radiology department at Hillcrest Hospital for really welcoming me and taking an interest in what I see and experience. I'd like to thank the entire Hillcrest Hospital for all the interns, for letting all the interns coming here. I'd like to thank Molly Loney for always being there whenever any of the interns needed help. None of us could do this without you, and we all totally appreciate it. I'd like to thank Nedra Starling, Rosalind Strickland, and the Office of Civic Education Initiatives for organizing the program and allowing high school students to see this great clinical opportunity. And I'd also like to thank Melanie Rosenberg, my peer mentor, for always keeping her interns updated and for being available whenever we all needed help. So, thank you.